All right, guys. Nice rainy day, nice Sunday, and I want to talk about what we talked about in children's church today. And this one's a difficult one. Today the word was suicide, and that is the act of intentionally causing one's own death. And that's a pretty hard hitting thing. So we did not do this softly, but we kind of did it softly, if that makes any sense. For our lesson, our memory verse was Acts 17:28. For in him we live and move and have our being. As some of your own poets have said, we are his offspring. And so this is calling to light the idea of us living in God, us living in Christ. And that is where we live. And so the idea here is to take and understand that our life is precious, and that it's because God can take our lives and make it something more than it is. And so we want to understand those are precious, which brings us to our buddy check for this lesson. Our buddy check for this lesson is, my life is worth living. And that's pretty self-explanatory, which usually it is. It captures the idea of what this lesson is. And what did we want to teach the kids? Your life is worth living, and everyone else's life is worth living. So killing someone or anything, these are bad things. We don't do that. All right. So what we read is 1 Samuel 31, and the very caption of this verse, or this chapter, is Saul takes his life. So it was pretty apparent that we were going to cover somebody killing themselves. And why did Saul kill himself? He wasn't necessarily sad or depressed or anything like that. He was fighting a battle with the Philistines, and they surrounded him. He was critically wounded, and he didn't want to be killed by a Philistine. And so he was like, hey, armor bearer, come kill me. And the armor bearer was like, no, I can't do that. And so Saul killed himself. So it really doesn't capture an idea of sadness or depression or things that you would normally associate with suicide. And so we really didn't cover an aspect of that. I would think with teens and young adults and things like that, you would get more into heavy talking about depression and things where you would want to talk about that. But what we did instead, so that was the lesson that we covered. I mean, we covered the whole kind of death scene of Saul and what the Philistines did and everything. You can read 1 Samuel 31 if you want to see exactly what that lesson was out. But the other thing we did for our object lesson, we didn't really do an object lesson. We did more of a counseling session. And what we talked about was, we encouraged the kids to be willing to talk about their feelings. We did some scenarios with if something happened to a friend or to someone that you knew, or to yourself, what would you do? How would you feel? Things like that, to kind of get an idea of how the kids feel. We have a small group, so it's pretty easy to do that. And then we encourage the kids that if they feel sad, or if they feel like things aren't going well, or if they feel like they're fighting temptation too much, or whatever it is, that it's okay to talk to somebody. It's okay to talk to a parent. It's okay to talk to a pastor. It's okay to talk to an adult and tell them this is what you're feeling, and that is okay to do that. And so just trying to create a culture of sharing when you're not feeling strong, so to speak. Of course, you can always share when you feel strong, but this is the idea that it's a hard thing to hit. But if you learn to cultivate a culture between your children and yourself, that they are willing to talk to you through things, you're going to make it easier for them to do that, instead of making them afraid. And you just have to be open and honest with them to create that culture, so that they are willing to talk to you when things are going bad, or whatever it may be. And so that's what we did today. Just as a reminder, our memory verse was Acts 17:28. And in him we live and move and have our being. And some of your own poets have said, we are his offspring. And our buddy check was, my life is worth living. And that was Lifeguard Kids with One Community. And I am Derek Jordan. See you later.